Hello, everyone. Now we move towards the end of the Exodus uh, book, the second book by Moses. So let's finish it off with this video. And I think it's going to be very interesting. I've got actually a few chapters. I've picked out a few verses that on which we can have some philosophical discussions. We can actually have a full-on philosophical discussion on each and every line of this book, Exodus. But I think there are a few important ones that would help everyone. So let's go ahead and see if we can, if I can articulate it for the best for you and see what we can learn from it. Well, let's go ahead. So, chapter 33 from verses 3 to 6, it goes, Go up to a land flowing with milk and honey, for I will not go up in your midst, lest I consume you on the way, for you are a stiff necked people. And when the people heard this bad news, they mourned, and no one put on his ornaments. For the Lord had said to Moses, Say to the children of Israel, You are a stiff necked people. I could come up into your midst in one moment and consume you. Now, therefore, take off your ornaments that I may know what to do to you. So the children of Israel stripped themselves of their ornaments by Mount Horeb. This is very interesting, is because now the Israelites, their ornaments are being taken away from them. What is the reason? If you remember, the Israelites had actually started worshipping false gods when the eye of Moses was taken away from them. Because if you remember, Moses had gone up the mount to actually take down notes, the rules according to which the Israelites are supposed to act in the desert. But in Moses' absence, in the absence of the supervision, the Israelites actually started worshipping false gods. And it's very and that is why God is very angry with the Israelites. So what he does is he actually asks the Israelites to take off their ornaments. And if you remember, when the Israelites had actually left the land of Egypt, they got a lot of metals, precious metals from the Egyptians. So it was actually given to them by God, but now it's been taken away from them. Okay, now what do you derive from this? Right now, why is this happening? How is this related to now? Okay, let's say, you know, a lot of people, not everyone, but quite a few people, they forget what it took to reach to a certain position, the values and the principles that guided them to the top. They actually start to forget when they get too comfortable. Okay, what happens when you start to forget what actually led you to the top? Everything that has been given to you has to be maintained, lest it would be taken away from you. If you've got money, if you don't keep on monitoring it, you will lose it. That's the thing, right? Because just because you are not monitoring your account balance and you keep on spending money doesn't mean that you're not losing money. Of course, the money is gonna go down, and by the end of it, you are not gonna have any money. So what's happening here is that when people forget what actually led them from the tyranny into the land flowing with milk and honey, and when they reach there, let's say, when they reach the comfort zone, when they are comfortable, when they are feeling better than before, they forget what it took to reach there, and they forget it, and they, let's say, relapse into more comfortable and animalistic attitude, right? Let's say if you stop working out, you're going to lose the physique that you gained when you were working out. So that's what's happening. So what is given to you can be taken away from you if you don't maintain it, right? So that's what's happening with the Israelites here. They were given the precious metals, and now they've actually started worshipping false gods. So now what was given to them has been taken away from them, right? So the blessings that are bestowed upon you must be constantly monitored so that you can maintain it throughout your life. Otherwise, if you take your eye away from what you have been given, the blessings that you have been bestowed upon, the blessings that you've been given can be taken away if the constant eye of supervision is not there on the blessings that were given to you. That's what this verse is trying to say, in my opinion. Now, from chapter 34 verses 6 to 8. And the Lord passed before him and proclaimed, the Lord God, merciful and gracious, long suffering and abounding in goodness and truth, keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin, by no means clearing the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children and the children's children to the third and the fourth generation. So Moses made haste and bowed his head toward the earth and worshipped. Okay, this is very interesting. It is because it says that visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children and the children's children. Now, what does that mean? Now, let's say, there are certain behaviors that if you look at a family, there are certain behaviors that each family member might display, might enact. Okay, now let's say, if you look into your own family, there might be certain behaviors that actually land you in trouble, right? And it is not the case that the behavior might have started just in your generation. It might have been passed on from generations before you. All right, well, it might have started 2 or 3 generations before you, which landed your ancestors in trouble. But now, there are, since people are so stiff, it is difficult for people to let go of the behavioral patterns that they inhabit, right? Because when you try to burn away parts of you that are latched onto you, it is very difficult to burn away those parts of you, and people don't get rid of the behaviors. Let's say, you know, uh, so people don't put in the effort to burn away the parts of themselves that actually are landing them in trouble. It has to take a lot of effort, because it takes a lot of effort for people to change their mindset regarding something which actually is constant, even though about something, even though it is actually landing them in trouble constantly, right? So if people don't lose their mindset, they tend to pass on those behaviors to the generations after them. So, well, how to tackle this? If there is something that is actually troubling you, that behavioral pattern that you see among in your family, what you can do is you can take stock of it, you can realize it, and you can try and not do it, and you can see the consequences, you can watch the consequences of not performing that particular pattern of behavior, and see if that works out well for you, right? And it might take a lot, because because you grow up with that behavior, and it is very difficult to get rid of that, but might as well try it if you want to live a less miserable life. Well, let's go ahead. So from chapter 34 verses 12 to 16, that's here. Take heed to yourself, lest you make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land where you are going, lest it be a snare in your midst. But you shall destroy their altars, break their sacred pillars, and cut down their wooden images. For you shall worship no other God, for the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God. Lest you make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land, and they play the harlot with their gods, and make a sacrifice to their gods, and one of them invites you, and you eat of his sacrifice. And you take of his daughters for your sons, and the daughters play the harlot with their gods, and make your sons play the harlot with their gods. But that's very interesting, is because here the Israelites are being guided to the land flowing with milk and honey. That's the point of the whole journey, right? To from tyranny to salvation, salvation being the land flowing with milk and honey. Well, okay, the land. Okay, now the thing is that the land flowing with milk and honey, Canaan, that is the land flowing with milk and honey, is already inhabited by a few tribes of people, and they've got different gods, so according to the God who is guiding the Israelites is actually the one true God. Well, that's what the miracles point towards, right? And every other god is just a false god. So what's happening here is that God is concerned that if the Israelites coexist with the original inhabitants, let's say, of the Canaan, the Israelites will lose their way, and they will start worshipping the false gods. Okay, now how does it relate to us? if you look around you, you might find individuals which no sorry if you look around you, you will find individuals and groups who have different goals and aims than you. All right, so let's say you have an aim which is of the highest, that is the most highest goal that you are aiming at. And now what's happening is that now you go and commingle, you coexist, you hang around with the people who have a lower aim than what you are aiming at. Okay, now what happens then? You might be tempted, you will be tempted to compromise your goal for the goal that the group that for the group that is aiming at, for the goal that the group is aiming at, right? Because you might be ready to compromise your highest aim, your highest goal for the group that you hang around with, because the group might have a lower aim. And it's not, look, and it's not entirely impossible that the group has a better aim than you, but usually is the case that we are tempted to actually look out for those groups who have a goal that is less uh, effort demanding than yours. And then you think, those group of people are doing that, and I might as well join in, because it's easier what I'm doing, and I'm doing it by myself anyway for now. So I might as well just um, go and join that group. But then you're compromising your highest goal for the lower. And there was a reason that you were shown that vision in the first place. There was a reason that you were aiming at the highest anyways, is because your soul demands it. There was something in you that actually gave you the ability to think that you could actually achieve that goal, but now you have compromised it. Well, that's what the risk is. That is the highest risk. That is one of the highest risks that you could ever take in your life, compromising the vision that your soul had shown you. That's a big price to pay, man. So tread carefully. All right. From chapter 34, verse 20. Okay. But the firstborn of a donkey you shall redeem with a lamb, and if you will not redeem him, then you shall break his neck. All the firstborn of your sons you shall redeem, and none shall appear before me empty-handed. Look, here God outright says that if you don't have a sacrifice for me, do not appear in front of me. That's it. Usually for the longest time, people usually think that you can just God ask for something and it's gonna magically appear to you. It's not gonna be like that. He outrightly says that if you don't have a sacrifice for me, do not appear in front of me. What it means that there is no point in just praying if you're not ready to sacrifice, because it is the law of, let's say, equivalent exchange. You have to balance the scales. You have to offer your pound of flesh. There are no gifts. You have to give up a part of you, the proper sacrifice, which is in equal exchange to what you want. Moving ahead. Chapter 34, verses 29 to 35. Now it was so, when Moses came down from Mount Sinai, and the two tablets of the testimony were in Moses' hand when he came down from the mountain, that Moses did not know that the skin of his face shone while he talked with him. So when Moses and all the children of Israel saw Moses, behold, the skin of his face shone, and they were afraid to come near him. Then Moses called to them, and Aaron and all the rulers of the congregation returned to him, and Moses talked with him. Afterward, all the children of Israel came near, and he gave them as commandments all that the Lord had spoken with him on Mount Sinai. And when Moses had finished speaking with them, he put a veil on his face. But whenever Moses went in before the Lord to speak with him, he would take the veil off until he came out. And he would come out and speak to the children of Israel whatever he had been commanded. And whenever the children of Israel saw the face of Moses, that the skin of Moses' face shone, then Moses would have to put the veil on his face again until he went in to speak with him. All right. You know what's happening here is that when Moses had spent so much time with the God, his face started shining, right? So his constant interaction with the divine actually caused his face to shine. And that's very interesting, right? Now, Dr. Jordan Peterson, he says that whatever is in the highest for you, whatever you hold the highest is God. Okay. Is that divine then? Well, of course it is, because there are rules that you need to follow, right? So the divine dictates the rules that you need to follow. So your highest goal is your is divine, right? It's God for you, because your highest goal is divine, because it dictates certain rules for you, because you need to follow those rules to move towards the divine, right? That's the highest goal. Okay, so now maybe the constant interaction of, let's say, maybe the constant interaction with God actually makes your face to shine, right? Makes your face to shine. It's because your highest goal is very demanding of you, because it wants you to develop yourself to it wants you to make yourself worthy enough to achieve that goal, because you can't be the person that you want to be without self development through character development, and it might take a lot out of you, and it's not going to be easy. There are times, where you don't want to get out of the bed and you don't want to do anything, but might as well do it. It's because in the absence of the effort, you're going to just relapse back into where you first started, and then you can spend your whole life like that, and then by the end of it, it's going to be very difficult to even I think it's going to be really miserable, because like I said, in your soul demands that part of you, and if you're not going to offer a pound of flesh, there's going to be very, you're looking at just a dismal life ahead. All right, so what's happening here is that Moses' face is shining really bright, and so your constant interaction with the divine, so your constant pursuit of the divine actually makes you better as a person. Okay, well, what are the consequences of that? Okay, now what's happening here is that the Israelites can't look at the face of Moses. Okay, well, that's very interesting. What happens when you improve yourself? You are moving towards the ideal, the goal that you hold the highest. Okay, that's good. Now why? And here the Israelites are not able to take a look at Moses' face because his face is shining too brightly. Okay, it means that you left everyone that was around you, that you were hanging out with, behind you, and now you are so far ahead. It's actually difficult for them to take a look at you. It's because your face is because you are on another level now, as a consequence of the pursuit of the divine, of the highest goal. If when you're pursuing your highest goal, you're actually you've actually a completely changed person now. So it's difficult for people to take a look at you. It's because it actually brings out the insufficiencies in them, because even if you're not deliberately pointing out their insufficiencies, just your way of being, just your better developed self that is actually hanging around them, casts a shadow on their being, which people don't like. Well, so they don't want to take a look at you. That can be derived from these verses. Well, guys, it's been fun, and the rest of it is the construction of the tabernacle. It's a lot of art, which I won't go through. I'm just going to start with the third book of Moses, that is Leviticus, in the next video. And I hope that you guys had a really adventurous time listening thus far. And there is still a lot of story that lies ahead in the journey of the Israelites, right? So if the journey hasn't ended for the Israelites, there is a lot to come, and I look forward to discussing that with you in the next video. So I wish you guys a happy week, and All the best.